So welcome to the high-level, over-the-shoulder SEO audit of this site and the legal niche in the UK. Technical SEO audit. What are we looking for here? We are looking for broken stuff. We're looking for stuff that isn't built as good as it could. We're looking for things that aren't presented to Google in the way that Google really wants to see them. The first thing for us is to go in Search Console. Search Console we're going to use all throughout. There's a million things that we can do with Google Search Console, and is in general, I would say, for SEOs a more significant tool. As you can see here, the traffic has trend pattern, and this is important that we look into this as we plan later on strategies, or we account for what it's worth. We have a quick snapshot here of what's going on with the amount of index pages that they have, about 300 plus. Now you'll see the first dissonance there, right? We said that the site has 134 pages, but why do they have 300 plus index? That already indicates some sort of into. Let's look into these pages issue. 300 pages. Sitemaps. Okay, so there's a weird sitemap here. And then on this sitemap, there is 300 pages. What happens if we do a site semicolon search 330? Does this correlate with whatever Ahrefs is telling us here? Oh, this is the, there you go, here. Ahrefs says 127 pages, and that's the number that my team used to pull from here. And so realistically, what we are trying to solve is, why is there a difference?
Why?
And we're not going to find that out in 5 seconds, by the way. It's pretty rare. And typically the reason is there's going to be a whole section of content on the website that, one, isn't really optimized for search, or there could also be a whole bunch of technical errors in terms of the content management system producing sub URLs, or maybe, the typical test page, checkout pages, all that kind of stuff that doesn't belong in search. So what we need to do realistically is put every single page on the index, as well as the pages that show up in the content management system, into a list. The list will look like this, and this is every single URL they have. I will cover this content audit in more detail later as we go into the on-page SEO section, but basically we've gotten a snapshot of every single KPI for every single page. If you aren't doing this, you're missing out. Okay? We get into this later. And so here we can quickly see, let me come here. Some pages don't have any search traffic, but then what is this? I don't know, right? Go here. Okay, so this would be something that you can buy directly, and it's great, and it doesn't belong in Google's index, right?
That is correct.
This adds no value to Google. They're going to have some other consent order court fees page that explains what those are about and how much do you have to pay and how it all works. That actually answers the question. This won't answer the question, because if I land here and I can just pay 55 quid for this thing, I'm like, wait, but what is this? This is a little bit too small, not too easy to read. None of this is going to help for search. So that would be a good example, right? And as we go through this data here, you'll find it also easily. This questionnaire probably also doesn't belong there. All these / product categories. So one way to remove it, I won't do it because I don't have authorization from the client. And yes, my SEO friends, it's good to get authorization from clients. And if you can't get it, it means that you didn't explain yourself properly. So here we can go to removals and set up requests and clear the whole / product path. And then you just add a directive on the robots.txt file that blocks it as well. We don't even need it crawled, right? So there's only going to be so much love that Google gives to any site at any given time. And if you wasted asking Google to check out my page here that offers no value, they're not really going to enjoy that, right? And by they, I mean the robots, they don't really have feelings. And so that's one way to remove that mess. That is pretty straightforward. Now, if you do get a list like this, it's way faster. Okay, so I mentioned the robots.txt as a good way to block unwanted or undesired content from search. Now, if I get it right, because I have a whole bunch of tabs here, you can come in Search Console and you can just type robots.txt there, by the way. Switch settings is down here. Right, we're going to have a look at some of the stuff there. As you can see, all the robots.txt files have some sort of issue, right? And as we load it here, we see, okay, there's no user agent specified on line 1. So like, you don't even have to be fully educated until the nuances of robots.txt, which is quite complex, and you can always go to Google documentation. They have everything there on the knowledge base, and see that we have to specify who are we disallowing from scanning the WP content folder, right? And we need to say user agent, this guy here. This means every user agent. And so there's a sitemap added here by Joe's, but this line's on the wrong place. This really belongs down here. This isn't comprehensive enough. We can also disallow the / product, right? Pages, we can disallow maybe some of the sections of the content. There's some of the stuff that you can add there if you have multiple sitemaps, because you have a very comprehensive, in-depth website with Knowledge Hub that has 7,000 articles. You have products, you have video. There's so many stuff that you can add here on the robots.txt. This will be a very decent, simple file, provided that this is put in the right place and that we add some directives for the rest. We're going to find the crawl stats. These fancy charts here, probably don't mean much to most of you watching, but they are extremely revealing. This is the single most important one that you need to look at. This tells you what's going on with your website speed in the macro, and it's because of the first step. So the time to first byte, or your average response time, is how long does it take for the server to send the index.php file. And so you have to bring this down to 0.2 seconds. That's about how fast you have to be if you really want to succeed with SEO in 2024. There's multiple ways to do this. I will do a separate video on site speed optimization that will go into about the same levels of crazy detail as this audit will do. But you can see a relatively quick correlation between certain moments, right, where the time to respond has gone lower, and then the amount of information that has been retrieved has gone up. This is quite interesting. You can also see times where the speed goes in a peak and then the general trend goes down for a bit. It's a very, very clear correlation here. So the amount of crawl budget, which is this clean blue line, the amount of requests that you get depends on how well you treat Google. So when this number is very low and you're not wasting any of these crawl requests into crawling pages that don't deserve to be crawled, and you have a very clean navigation, which we're going to get into later on, and you have clean navigation on the footer as well, you don't have broken links. Broken links also add total render time, not response time, but total render time. There's going to be some other stuff there, right? So this section of Google Search Console, if you're an SEO, is one of your best friends. You're going to encounter a lot of value and knowledge here. Some of the other areas that are very important to look at is going to be your page experience, core web vitals, HTTPS. Let's do a quick check. Like, it's all good. It's interesting. Some pages at some point here, not too far ago, weren't solving as HTTPS. They weren't throwing critical issues, which is interesting. So this points to perhaps some sort of render problem or cache problem worthwhile looking into, right? See, there's a note here, right? And that explains everything. Otherwise, we'll have this error, right? So it's a render problem within Search Console. A fetch problem, doesn't really matter. Don't get too entrapped in terminology. Core web vitals are very straightforward. So in mobile, they're doing okay. They're passing core vitals, but they won't over a long enough period of time because of the issue that we saw there with the response time. I can tell you that won't stay there for too long. So that already needs addressed preventively. Okay. So we've covered some of these index stuff here. We can always look at some of the other stuff like the breadcrumbs, make sure that there's no errors here. The FAQs working well. Not very many structured FAQs, not very many how to, and the site links are working well. You can always check whether the site has any sort of manual action, which wouldn't really make sense, but you always have to check it, as well as security issues. Nothing detected. That will cover realistically the single most important part of your early technical audit. So page indexing, we're gonna have a quick look here into these 300 pages just to see what's there, because we've already mentioned it, right? So if we look here into these 300 pages, we can look at the kind of stuff that they have here. And sometimes you see /tag, like here, that already tells you, let's disallow our tags. And hold on. And this is because the client isn't really using tags as a taxonomy or a hierarchy of content that actually matters. If you are actually using tags in a unique way where they are thorough, things, for instance, of food websites, tags could be valuable for travel sites as well. But it's way easier and way better just to have a clean hierarchy of content with pages, child pages, and so on and so forth. You set up your silos the right way, life is way easier. So for instance, for this particular client, I would also add this /tag to my earlier robots file that I mentioned, and I would also remove it here. Okay. Now, if we look into the top pages here, we see a very clear distribution of traffic to go 1, 2, 3, 4 pages are getting 50% of all the search traffic for this site. This is a concentration of risk that I normally don't like. However, it is very common to see this all throughout most websites that you will look into, and it's your job as an SEO to start looking at all the other pages that are farther here below the list and see what can be done to them for them to start growing up into their SEO, so that you balance out the profile of the pages that are getting traffic for the client to minimize these kind of risk concentrations, because they're not good. You can be doing an amazing job and then this particular page and this page get hit and they go to 0 and you lose so much traffic that it outdoes all your progress on the new content that you're publishing. Okay, so we have discovered, we've covered this, we've covered that, we've covered the next thing.
So easy.
Let's jump into on-page SEO. To start with the on-page SEO, I'm sorry for shuffling this guy so much, I'm going to start first going through the content audit. If you're doing any kind of content audit and you're not getting every single metric there is, That's not going to work. So, for instance, if we come here, the first thing that we are greeted with is the CTR for the homepage is really low. Some of the pages here are great. And so things that you can learn from this, right, is what are we doing on the title and the meta description for these two pages that we can learn and can be implemented here? I don't know. What's the meta description here? Oh, meta description, rated #1 by Trustpilot. Yes, no, not necessarily super descriptive, okay? If we look at this other one here, that was having a really good CTR, right? Third one, what happens if your spouse doesn't respond to your divorce petition? What can you do about it and how can you avoid it in the first place? These all three questions already points into a direction. Most of these meta descriptions are framed into questions. What's going to happen is a lot of this is going to be bolded in search as you look for it, and that will increase the clickability of it. Higher CTR, all this stuff here, this is what Rank Brain is all about, okay? This is really good stuff, and this explains why the client is also doing so well in spite of some of the areas of the site that aren't in tip-top shape. They are doing really good in terms of the user engagement in the content. Now, the content is really good. They are absolute experts on their niche. They have fantastic reputation. All of those things stack together into a very solid foundation. And this is why I'm repeating many of these throughout the video. It's a common misconception that SEO is just a precise science and that everything is compartmentalized. Absolutely not.
Nailed it.
SEO is more of an art than it is science, although the scientific method is absolutely required and a very scientific approach to gathering data and coming to data and experimenting is absolutely required. But it's more of an art in the sense of you have to have a holistic understanding of the entire site, of what matters, and knowing in which degree they all matter with clients that don't have everything set up 100% clean, so you don't have every single data point, and you have to work a little bit in the dark, and that's completely fine. That's our job, okay? So realistically, this bounce rate here, okay, and this we can hide. And I'm keeping this kind of little mistakes and imperfections in the video because this is how life works, okay? Life has imperfections. And that's our job as site auditors, is to find the imperfections on the website so we can improve it. And so the bounce rate is also pretty low across the board. Some of them are a little bit higher, which would make sense if you land in this page and the page has the text that you saw before is so small. So in general, we also have to have a look at some of the things like the traffic sources. So a lot of direct traffic is going to be really good. First sessions is going to be really good, right? And then we start looking into this, which is the movement, right? So the site is going up across the board month over month and year over year, which isn't really helpful for the purposes of finding out what could be done with the website. However, this last modified line here, this is really helpful because realistically what we're seeing here is that some of the content, and this particular page is going to come up now, this child support calculator has not been updated for a long time, as well as some of these other pieces. Google has a strongly built-in factor called the freshness factor, and it always matters. Now, there are certain queries where if the content isn't very fresh, you can't even rank, okay? There's a concept called the query deserves freshness. And for instance, if you look for the latest world events in certain places in the Middle East, right? We're like, what's going on with X, right? That I can't even mention, otherwise YouTube will cancel my video. Then you need to know what happened like an hour ago, right? That's what you're looking for. You're not looking for what happened in 2021, unless that's what you're looking for. So what else do we have here? We're gonna have some off-page data here. This isn't comprehensive, and it's not meant to be comprehensive. It's only meant to give us a snapshot. So we know this page hasn't been modified since September, which is nothing crazy. It doesn't have any broken links, has a lot of referring domains, and has a good UR. UR is like the domain rating, but just for the URL, right? Again, third-party metric is relative, is imperfect. Don't get too entrapped on it. This part here is a little bit more interesting. So this is the top keyword, which is also the keyword that this page is supposed to rank for. And we can tell, when a page has its main keyword, right, that as per Ahrefs, with a very low search volume term that you are position number one, that says the page has room for improvement because it does get good traffic, which means it was going to have a ton of long tail keywords that aren't at the top yet, okay?
Correct. That is correct, yeah.
This will also tell us some big wins that we have here. Let's put this keyword into page one. That will be a nice jump in search. We have to have a look at whether this is even indexable or not, right? And many of these, if they should not be indexable, you can start making notes here on this dashboard of your own. Now, a whole lot of the issues that you find here, like, okay, we can't tell the readability score. You should know what the readability score and the sentiment are page by page. There's a whole bunch of tools here. Normally, Yoast will pull all this data, which is what we use here. And this is just to show that sometimes you have to work with imperfect data. Okay, normally you want this to be very easy and you want this to be positive. But because I'm going to do a much more nuanced analysis using Surfer SEO, I don't really care about these two columns. I'm just going to hide them. Same as this, we don't really care about this. It's good to have it. It's important to have it as you come through a file of this nature. So then you can start making notes here. Okay, we have a little formula that we've developed that looks into the previous metrics and tells us the amount of opportunity for any given page. So if the main keyword is a high search volume keyword, right, and then not at the top, and the title and meta description could be optimized, and the introduction is terrible, and the date is out of date, right, that will give us some ideas here. And then, does this belong to the top content of the website? Does this get some traffic but has no links whatsoever? Because that's good. We just add more links and then it will do better, right? And if it has a whole bunch of links pointing to it, we can identify this as a power page. And then we know we should be reviewing the internal links in this page to distribute the link juice where it matters the most. Okay, this is all very high level on page. Let's get into some pages and do a drill down. So, first off, what is this client actually ranking for?
Think about that.
Okay, this is the first thing that you have to look at. And I've chosen to go into the main geo that they serve, only page 1, and I've ordered this by volume. Okay, anything that is realistically position 1 or 2, you could skip, but this will tell you a quick and easy way to find fantastic targets for you to start deploying some of these actual on-page work on. Okay, I will do also a high-level overview of navigation a little bit later, as we cover some of the content here, so you also get familiarized with the content. We could just jump to navigation, but then neither of us is super familiar with the 100+ pages that they have that it's doing well. So as we go through this exercise of looking at the nuance of every page, you will find that out. So apparently the client is ranking for some really high search volume keywords that also decently priced when it comes to PPC. I can see how you can blow a lot of budget bidding for a term like this. And so if we could get the client to the top, right, position number 1, it'd be ridiculous. It'd be game changing, right? So this is the kind of keywords that you have to look for. Okay? Child support calculator is an interesting one, although it's a bit more middle of the funnel, right? Apply for divorce is bottom of the funnel. You always have to look for the bottom of the funnel stuff. If you're unfamiliar with bottom of the funnel, middle, and top of the funnel, I will do another video in due course, but by all accounts, go and do some Googling.
Got it.
Okay, bottom of the funnel fundamentally is the stuff that if you Google that, you land on the page and the page answers your question, which is super important. The query has to be met. You will convert, right? So if your query is met, the intent is met and fulfilled in full, you can establish that the website is giving you a good answer. You can trust the website. They have the expertise. They have the authority, they have the trustworthiness, right? They have the experience, have a good reputation. You will convert, right? Provided that you are at that stage of the funnel. Top of the funnel is more like, should I get divorced, right? This is like you already know and you're ready to go, right? Alrighty, so let's have a look at the page that should rank for this online divorce. The first thing that we see here is online divorce and divorce online, which mean exactly the same thing with different search volume because people frame it this way more often. We find 2 different pages ranking for this. So this is called cannibalization. Your site, it's its own rankings. In this particular case, the site seems to be surviving to the deal. I doubt that both the homepage and this will appear for both terms twice. And realistically, it should only be one of the 2 that really answers the question. Just by the URL, you can tell this is how to apply for a divorce online, not just divorce online. Okay, this is the how-to page. So the how-to page requires proper how-to schema with the steps. It's going to require to be optimized for the keyword and de-optimized for the general broad keyword. You can self-refer one page to the other with the exact match. So for instance, if the client wanted to solve this cannibalization issue, which is a very common issue that you will find across any large website, and this site isn't large, a couple hundred pages isn't large by any account. First thing that you have to do is run both URLs through Surfer SEO for the actual keyword, which I haven't done in this video, which is going to take forever. I'll do another video on fixing cannibalization later. You run both of them through Surfer SEO for the exact keyword. And then you look at how well they match on the score for the keyword. And you want to de-optimize the page that isn't supposed to rank. That's step number 1. Step number 2, you optimize the other page. Beautiful. Step number 3 is you go and you point page A to page B with an exact match anchor text and the other way around. So the homepage would point to the how to apply for a divorce online with that exact keyword as the anchor text, and the how to apply for the divorce online will point back to the homepage in the content, always in the content contextually, not just in the sidebar menu, to the homepage with the keyword online divorce, and maybe later on again with the keyword divorce online, just to be sure. Does it matter that you put 2 links? No, Google really just renders and counts for the first time that one page refers to the other one, but it's worthwhile having there for the clicks. Okay. Holistic, right? There's a lot of nuance here. Let's have a look at the homepage. So we're going to do 2 different kinds of analysis of the homepage. I'm going to do a visual assessment of the page. I'm going to do an on-page assessment of the page with the Ahrefs Chrome bar, which is fantastic. We're going to throw it onto the schema validator, and then we're going to look into search for SEO. I will do that for a couple of different pages with different nature. Your job as an SEO is to do this through every single page on the client site that has any substance. And in order for you to find which pages have substance, this is why you do a content audit first, right? As you find which pages have substance, you go here to this column recommendation and you start writing, oh, okay, this page, the index, this other page, optimize, high priority. Okay, high priority, let's optimize it right now. Some other pages like this has some juice, not sure if it's worthwhile the squeeze. Let's optimize it maybe in 2 months from now after we do this big chunk of content. In this particular case, for this site, I would for sure work on the homepage as a high priority page to, 1, solve the cannibalization problem, but also make sure that it converts better. So as we scanned the page, I already mentioned some of this stuff, right? I would split the FAQs into main subjects. I would also remove whatever FAQs don't really belong on the homepage because they're too nuanced, they're too specific for a certain subquery, right? And also, if there's some of these queries that just, can I get a divorce if my spouse disagrees? This is quite a bit of content. Ideally, you want to answer this with a paragraph or 2 and then point to the article that answers that in full. The problem if you do that with every single page, with every single question in the FAQs is, for this particular client, he will have a ridiculously large outbound link count on the homepage. Okay, so it will greatly dilute the power of the homepage. What we want to do is we want to add more of this stuff here. So we want to identify the 4 or 5, ideally really for the depth of this website, maybe up to 10 sub-content, or sub-topics, and then nest them as navigation within the Knowledge Hub. Then when you go to the Knowledge Hub, then you can see all the other stuff. The beauty is this is already been done. Marriage certificates, financial orders, divorce costs, right? And then press releases, news, whatnot. That's beautiful. So bare minimum, we already have 4 main categories that we could add here as a drop down and then really split it up. So if whales have anything that's specific, then it would be worthwhile having something for whales. If there is stuff that is specific for Scotland, which there is, and this is why they don't cover Scotland, it may be worthwhile adding a page that says why we don't cover Scotland and where you need to go instead. And it's a good opportunity to become an affiliate of a similar firm that offers the same services that you offer, but in a slightly different geo or in a slightly different angle. There's always room for wins when you think creatively. Now, I've thrown the page here into Schema, and I'll put the guy on top of the code because it doesn't matter so much. And as you can see, there is only one type of schema on the homepage. Ideally, you can add a lot more. You can add entity for the business, you can add for any video, for image, you can add for how to. There's a whole list of types of schemas that if you literally type types of schema and then maybe rank math, you will have the list from the plugin. I'll spare you the 20 minutes on this video. You can watch that on your own time. What we're looking for here is to make sure that the schema at least appears without errors, right? And then figure out how many types of a schema does this have and does this make page sense for the page. So the page should have an organization schema in this particular case. This is going to be very important for EEAT, which is one of the areas where this site has the largest room for improvement. Their EEAT is almost non-existent. And it is so easy to establish it that will be a very big win for this client. For instance, something interesting I just found out here. You can see the site is using NitroPack.
Oh,
right? So that could be a reason why it's passing Core Web Vitals. However, it's not passing GTmetrix, and it's not passing Lighthouse, and it's not passing the TTFB. So that points towards the idea that something else has to be done. Okay, this is the kind of stuff that you find from a technical SEO point of view when you do on page, and this is why things are never separated. Okay, so let's run this check here. Content score is pretty good. You can always show details and see how it compares to everybody else in search, right? Some people are doing better though. In terms of NLP optimization and terms to use, there's going to be a lot of room for improvement for the content on this page to adjust itself a little bit better to what Google wants to see on the page. Okay, these you can pretty much just trust blindly. You don't really have to understand it so much. Basically, open the article, open some of this stuff, start editing the content, nice and easy. The page doesn't have enough words on the headings. Interesting. So let's see if that is true. As we come here in Ahrefs, Chrome bar, you'll find that the first heading is not the H1. Interesting, right? The first heading is an H2. That's not good, right? This should either be just plain text or nothing, right? Realistically, this could go underneath the title, would make a lot of sense. Quick online divorce in England and Wales, save thousands in legal fees, and then why choose easy online divorce, which is farther down below here, right? In the same way that this is just text. This could be just text or go underneath. These kind of errors in formatting for the hierarchical structure of the page matter way more than people give them credit for. We can't have an H2 immediately followed by H4s, right? H2, H3, and then H4. Every little error of this nature is hurting the site. We don't need all of this stuff here as an H2. That should be just text, right? Titles from all the articles being pulled as headings aren't good, because the problem is going to be as these changes over time, as we publish new stuff, the H3s, this is this, right? And this is, I assume, done by the latest or the last updated or else. But the problem is, as we publish new stuff, right, this is going to change. So we don't have control on the headings on the homepage, and that is not good, right? So what else do we have? You can see realistically in 2 clicks with just one free tool how much you can see, right? That's already pretty good. Now, there's some issues here where there's some links in the page throw a 301. So ideally, we just go find this link on the page and replace it for the end destination, right? You can also check all the images. This is more like technical stuff on the page. So it's per page on page, if you will. So a whole bunch of these logos are missing alt text, right? Good. We can just go and add some unique alt text to all of this stuff. Social media don't matter so much. Structured data. Okay, here we find more stuff. Image, breadcrumbs, website organization. Okay, we do find it here, right? Beautiful. This is why you have to have multiple tools at your disposal to make sure that everything does what it's supposed to do, right? Beautiful. Indexability. Robots.txt appears there. Good. X robot tag is missing. Not good. Agent strap slangs. You could have it if the whole site is in one language. It's not really going to do a lot, but everything you can add that makes the site more proper is always good. So the word count here says 4,000 words. Let's go into Surfer. Okay, these many words is because Ahrefs is counting all the stuff, and that's why you can never blindly trust just one tool. right?
Just so on point.
It's also asking us to bold a whole bunch of words. And if we come here, we figure out, oh, okay, everybody else has some of the keywords in bold. We have nothing. And as we go again into some of the main keywords that we have to add, we can add them and bold them. And, God bless, two birds, one stone. What else do we have? Exact keywords. All the stuff in blue is maybe partial keywords. We can add a lot more partial keywords, which means, some of the stuff that we're going to find here. Page structure says the H1 is okay. And immediately we see a whole bunch of issues with the same images, the bolded elements. We need more paragraph elements, which means some of the big text that we have, we need to split it up more. And we definitely have to have more headings. So this page would need, this page would need dumping into a text doc and start looking at the hierarchy of content. And for instance, like I mentioned before here in the FAQs, we can add a lot of H2s and H3s to nest these FAQs in a way that Google will be very happy about it, right? All this content here. Internal links. So 89 internal links opportunities found for this URL. Now, this is its own can of worms because as this recommends you to link from the product pages up back to the homepage. Being the homepage, it can always make relative sense. But as you start looking into content clusters or silos, you need to know better than surfers. So this you can't trust blindly. You need to use your own critical thinking. Does it make sense to link from the how to get a quick divorce page to the homepage? It would be because it's the homepage, but does it make sense to link from the how to get a quick divorce to financial settlements? I'm not entirely sure. And surfer might still tell you to do so. Times to use are stuff that you're straight up missing on the page, right? Like divorce service. Oh, okay, we have it 3 times. These ones are the ones that are important. The ones they have 0. All the ones they have 0, 0, 0, 0. This is terms that Google wants to see on the page and you don't have them anywhere. Do you need them 9 times? No, right? 1, 2 times, sometimes it's plenty, right? All of these little details will increase your surfer score. And again, don't trust it blindly. Don't be a fool. Okay, none of this stuff, Ahrefs, surface score, none of that stuff matters in isolation. Okay, they're just guidances, just guidances. Add one exact keyword on the title. I don't know. Is this real? Do we not have the keyword on the title? I don't know, right? To look into all of these different things. And so I will leave you with this because there's a lot of nuance to cover here. And I just want to look at a different angle. The different angle that I wanted to look at is, I'm going to have to rerun this again. Okay, well, excuse me, wrong page. In order to get here, all I do is I right click, inspect, and then once I inspect it, I go here, Lighthouse, okay? And then I just run. And let's look into this. So this is the Lighthouse score. Now you have to run this in incognito with no extensions, okay? And this is going to tell you a breakdown of the FCP, the LCP. CLS is doing well because that's all NitroPack does. Everything else, not so good. If the guys from NitroPack want to change my mind, they're welcome to make a video. Hopefully they won't be too aggressive. But yeah, I am not a fan, okay? Because it doesn't make sense that the CLS is 0.2 seconds when everything else is totally freaking fucked.
You cannot be serious.
So let's have a look into this. Accessibility. This is all small things and all of it matters, okay? You cannot escape any of these things. You have to do it all. Now, does background and foreground colors matter more than really good backlinks? It doesn't, right? But you have to still do it. And so we can click here and very clearly see that all this don't have enough contrast. Pretty simple. Links for an ion color to be distinguishable, right? And so it means that if you have text, right, that is a link, but I can't tell very obviously that it's a link. Google doesn't like it, but users don't like it either. Make your internal links disgustingly obvious. Okay, if you have a link on a page, you want to have it with some CSS highlighting. You don't have to underscore it. You can just use CSS highlighting in the background. You can bold them so they stand out. Bolded text is also required in the page. For the page, whatever text you have bolded, that links to a different page. It's secondary for this page, but it's the most important for the target page because that's the way that you should do your internal links. Okay. What else do we have? Heading elements, I don't know, in a sequentially descending order. This is so important that every single tool that we're using is finding this issue. Okay. Best practices. You can send this to a developer, don't even worry about it. SEO, links are not crawlable. It's an important one. How comes that? What's the divorce and all these different things? They are shown as toggle, but they don't have an Ahrefs. And then there's some issues on the robots.txt file. It's so important that every single tool picks it up. Okay, tab targets. So I almost missed this. So tab targets is something that I mentioned too earlier. And it means that this is too small. If I have fat fingers, I'm going to hit everything when I try to tap on my card. Okay. Also, when you run this test, if you see a myriad of errors up here, where I'm at right now, you also want to look into that. Okay, that will be matter for a different video altogether. So I could go and show you every single detail of this page, but I'm just going to go through some very basic, obvious stuff. Okay, this is the stuff that Google was referring to. It's not very clear to see that this is links, right? Depending on whether you have the color turned off or, you know, you have something like FX Lux where all your screen is orange, right? And if you're wearing a pair of these, I won't see the links with this. I really won't, right? And if it was 3 hours later than today, then I won't see the links. This needs more spacing. The font is a bit too small in general for readability. I already have it at 110% here, right? And realistically, it would need to be this big. This is the proper size, right? But this is 125, right? This is actually the proper size of the website. So basically, if they just tell their developer, hey, amp everything up 20%, they will do great.
That seems about right. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
And so as we go down the page here, we can find also some other areas for improvement in general. So every single section, this is really good, by the way. Okay, and the fact that it highlights as you go down is probably one of the reasons they have such a good dwell time, right? I didn't implement this myself. It's not something that I can tell for a fact with a before and after A/B test, but it makes a lot of sense. And so one of the areas where they can improve a lot is by adding images. And right now, ChatGPT Pro with the DALL-E extension, you can create images for absolutely everything in seconds, and they will look awesome. They will be unique. Yes, you can put a little disclaimer that the images were AI generated. Don't really need to as of December of 23. Don't quote me 5 years from now. And you can always add those images there. Give each and every one of those images a unique alt tag that is descriptive and also include some of the long tail keywords that Surfer is telling you that they want to see on the page, right? And that's how you integrate one thing with the other. That will also help for image search, okay? And you can always hit enter a bit more often. Yes, from proper writing point of view, it might not make sense, but from a web copy point of view, it's always good to space things out a bit more. Okay, so that's another area for improvement on the page. Now, something that's super important, and I'm going to address it now here, on the knowledge base, even if it's the knowledge base and it separates itself from, I'm going to skip this because it's going to be redundant, and the video is already an hour long. Here on the normal content of the website, you have this type of banner, right? Which we don't find here. This is a shorter banner. So the content shows up way earlier on the page. Here, however, all I have is title, name of the author, date, quite out of date. And if I click on this, it goes to an archive. This is not very good. We don't want to see archives on whatever was published in January of 21. So that also doesn't need a link there, but this is normal standard WordPress type of features that we need to remove. When you click on the author, it takes you back to the about page because the author feature within Yoast is disabled and it creates an automatic 301. That is improper. The proper way is to have a / about that also has a dedicated section for each and every one of the authors. Within the section, you want a fully comprehensive bio. Don't skip any details, right? For everything that pertains to the niche. So if you were a cashier in McDonald's and you like the Pomeranians, that doesn't really belong in the about page, unless it's a site about food and dogs, right? This particular case, it will matter the tenure of the person in this particular industry. What are they certified with? What kind of board do they belong to? What's the LinkedIn page? What's the Facebook page? All these different things, they have to be there for proper EEAT. Okay, then you want every single one of these pieces of content to link from the name of the author that published the piece into the about page, ideal to the section of the author. And then I want to go and find the same information of the author consistently throughout the entire internet. So whatever info we say, bio, key bullet points that we put about the author on our author page, make sure that your LinkedIn says the same, that your Facebook page says the same, X, all these other places, right? As well as whatever name you use. So imagine that your name has a middle name, or you have, like I do, 25 million last names because I'm from a place that has a lot of last names, right? Whatever you choose to simplify your name to, right, or display your name as, you have to be consistent also for the NAP, name, address, phone. So the address of the business also has to be consistent. The phone has to be consistent, and that all has to be shown in citations. You want to have citations. We're going to go into off-page SEO in a minute, but I will cover that there. Now, back to the on-page part. I would also love to see when was this last updated and how long does it take to read this piece of content. That lowers the friction for the reader to determine whether they want to read it or not. Because if this was published in 21, but you updated it last week, then it's fine, right? So this is an example of like the font is too small. It could really do with more background contrast. You can really live without any of these things on mobile. All 9, sorry, on mobile, all people do is they just go to the dots at the top, hit share, and that's that. Okay, and so realistically, we can live with a way smaller top header here, like like hero background. The header is this, the hero background here, and I don't like center titles, and nobody else does, right? Only aesthetic wise, they look good. For readability, they're not good, right? Like find out with our free child support calculator, that even the keyword is split between 2 different lines, right? So ideally, we can serve this in 2 lines, center on the left, full block, move it up, author, last updated, original date, how long to read. I click on the author, I go to the about page, the whole enchilada. From there, same stuff. Okay, these steps, they need to be thrown into the schema validator and make sure that you have how to step-by-step schema enabled. Okay. These can also do with some images, can also do with a video using the tool at the beginning. Like this is how it works. Some people prefer it in video format. Some people prefer it on text format. So if you have a video of any step-by-step article that you have on your site, right? Or even if there's a calculator, videos on how to use the calculator, that also gets you YouTube traffic. The YouTube traffic flows into the page, feeds Google more user metrics, makes RankBrain happy. This is what I mean with holistic. Okay, so what else do we have? Here, this other version has this, which is really good. This doesn't have it. We have no sidebar whatsoever. Yes, I have the ad blocker enabled because otherwise, this video will be insane. And this also needs removing. So realistically, what I would advise for everyone, but in particular for this site owner, would be, this is really good, by the way. Okay, I love this feature here. It's going to get you more leads, right? It's pretty good. I wouldn't really make a distinction between the way that the content is displayed on the Knowledge Hub versus how it's displayed on all the other pages, right? So you still want to have the table of contents. You still want to have the contact us, right? You still want to have the chat with us page, which you do have here. These you always have to remove. This you don't have control on. It's whatever you publish after, whatever you publish next. Okay. So for instance, here, this points to an article that has a URL on the title. right? This is not good. We don't, excuse me, a URL and title. A page that has the date on the URL, okay? And really, we don't need this, right? So January 2021, this also doesn't belong in the title, right? So this should be updated fresh, remove the title here, this date in the title, remove the date from the URL, put a 301 in place, make sure that you fix all of that stuff, right? The image is duplicated. These kind of things are really going to encumber the page. Now, this is quite obvious. So obviously the reason this appears is not ignorance. It's just there's a lot to do on the website, right? There's a lot to do when you run a business. So when you see things like this, don't immediately assume that the person on the other side doesn't know what they're doing. It's just like this probably a low value page that is just they haven't updated in a very long time. But as an SEO, it's your job to find all of these, write them down, put them in a list, prioritize, start executing. Going back to this idea, you have to remove these two because you don't really have control on them. It's whatever you publish before and whatever you publish after. So they don't belong there because they're going to mess up your silos. Okay. Christmas, couple with Christmas after divorce and how to apply for a divorce online. In this particular case, everything has to do with divorce. So it's a very narrow site. But when you have a larger site that maybe talks about marriage or like just family law, divorce is one thing, child support is another thing, all these different things. So realistically, we want to remove this stuff here in full, and we definitely don't want it paginated, right? Definitely don't want this pagination. This is going to be part of why we have 200 URLs more than we need on the index. And we have a whole section here for all the stuff that needs to be 301. All these paginations, they need to be fixed, and 301s so they get removed properly. So as you can see, in terms of on-page, let's remove this page here. In terms of on-page, really what we're looking for is every single way that the page could be optimized further, right? And there's a bunch of tools at our disposal. Okay, we can use the search bar here. We can throw the page in Search for SEO. It's going to tell you everything you need to know. As you read through the hierarchy, you'll see, okay, how much child support will you have to pay? Find out with our free child support calculator. Excellent. H2, share this post. Not excellent, right? This doesn't need to be an H2. How much child support will you have to pay? Find out with a free child support calculator. It's okay, but it's lazy because it's the exact same one repeated, right? So this deserves some unique variation, the keywords, etc. Then I suggest having the steps directly as H3s under the H2, and then all the other ones underneath after another H2. So for another H2 could be like calculating child support with the CMS. And then you go like, okay, payment, parentage, data. Subscribe to the newsletter doesn't belong as an H2, data. So this is why all these sections are complicated, right? And this is the footer, but the footer is sidewise. So this is why it's so important also to get the footer and the headers right. Okay. Then you just run it through Search for SEO. You apply all the implementations that it suggests, and you will do great. So to wrap up this per page on page section, the main idea to follow is identify the highest value pages, figure out what's wrong with them, and start fixing diligently each and every single one of them. To find out what's wrong with them, you can just rewatch the last half an hour or so of this video.
Too easy.
Now, let's jump into content. So, content as a macro idea in the whole, okay? Like we covered here, this site deserves new content because it's going to be very hard to beat these guys with 200 pages less, right, than the ideal. Why do I say 200 pages less of the ideal? Because you don't want to be just the same size as the other sites in the same way that you don't want to have just the same backlinks. To genuinely get over everyone, you must win them at content and at backlinks, right? And that's also why I spent so long with a technical foundation at the very beginning, because if that's not done right, then nothing matters, right? So realistically, against some really large websites like this is like general family law. You want a lot of content, but bare minimum, we want to add about 100 pages. So in order to find what those 100 pages is, the simplest way is to throw all of these websites into Ahrefs' content gap. You put it like this, you go here to the content gap, You add all of them one by one, and I'll spare you the pain. I already did it. It's all the keywords that they don't rank for, but that the competition does rank for. And I've applied a couple of simple filters so we don't lose our mind here. First off, choose the right geo. Then I tend to do, when I find here like 30,000 keywords, nobody's going to come to that, right? You can put them in keyword clustering tools like ScaleNet or Keyword Cupid. Don't matter. Just with a simpler list, you can just use your bare eyes and a highlighter, and it really does work. Okay, this is the version for non-SEO professionals. So cut the volume for really low volume, ignore it for now. Word count 2 or more. You don't want words like amicable or divorce, like they don't really matter for the purpose of what we're doing here. And you start seeing all this other stuff. Now, if you do know that you do rank for some of these keywords, you can ignore Ahrefs. Sometimes the content gap isn't perfect. That's fine. However, if it does appear here, it could be that at the time that this content gap, or basically the time that this database was clustered together, you weren't appearing for that keyword because Ahrefs takes snapshots in time for every keyword, and the data sometimes is not fresh. Best way to look into this is, let's go to this no fault divorce keyword, right? This was updated 11 hours ago because it's a relatively good search volume keyword. When you look with keywords that have 500 searches or 200 searches, sometimes you see that the SERP and the keyword difficulty and so forth has been updated 3 weeks ago, and it does happen, right? Ultimately, Ahrefs doesn't have unlimited resources, right? They're a relatively small company in terms of the team, although they're one of the largest SEO tools there is. This you can never trust blindly, and that's why I'm going to spend a whole section here in a minute. But the more important part is you can always go keyword by keyword here if you're really interested into this, and look at who's ranking. Look how stable the rankings are. There's some people here coming and going, right? As you see here in these charts, there's some people coming and going. And if you are in one of these and your ranks look like this chart here where it's coming and going, you know you have a problem, a serious problem within the on page of that one document. This is what I wanted to illustrate this with just one random keyword. So if you see that the keywords that you rank for don't actually appear here as if you didn't rank for them, then you might want to look into that keyword, look into whether your own chart is doing crazy stuff, and then maybe look for cannibalization, look for the documents needing some help. And that's one good way to solve the whole thing out. Now, normally what we would do is we'll dump this entire list here on a content gap. I'm just say select question mark, right? And if I really like this, no fault divorce, yeah, this looks like a good keyword, right? What else do we have? What percentage of marriages end up in divorce? That's interesting. Okay, that could be more of a I'm getting married keyword than I am divorcing keyword. So this is like top of the funnel for 5 years from now, but it's still a good keyword to have because it belongs to the general topical map of content. So let's cover topical maps real quick. In a nutshell, super high level, a topical map is, imagine that you have this video. Okay, this is the map of the video. It covers everything that fits on the screen. If this video, this map is divorce, you want to have everything. You don't want to have certain areas of the map that are uncovered. So if there are all these very many topics around the idea of divorce as a source, root keyword, umbrella term, so many terms thrown out there in the SEO industry, it doesn't matter. Basically, you have a main idea, divorce, allocation, UK, perfect. Everything that has to do with divorce in the UK, ideally, if you want to rank for the big divorce online, fast divorce, divorce in the UK, divorce online, all these different keywords, cover all of it, divorce rates, statistics, right? This, not applicable. How many marriages end up in divorce in the UK? You will find repetition of topics, and that's why you need keyword clustering tools. So this keyword and this keyword are put together, and you know that you only have to write one article. What is a wife entitled to in a divorce settlement in the UK? I don't know. Seems like a very easy keyword with good search volume that you can write a piece of content for. Divorce mediation, right? So you'll find a whole ton of keywords here. You can literally throw this entire list into Keyword Cupid. It will do some basic clustering for you, and that already saves you hours. ScaleNet is a really good idea as well. So once you've covered everything, you get to this point where Google scans your whole site, reads the navigation, sees that you've nested everything in the way that they want to see it with entities, right? You have the schema in place, all the content is covered, then the only thing left is backlinks. So let's go into backlinks.
We're almost done.
So off-page SEO, where do you start? Ahrefs, same place as before. But now we're going to be looking at a slightly different section of the tool. So this is the blue chart. This is what we want to understand first. So I want to zoom in and I'll show you what I'm looking for. This spike and then this drop and then the traffic going down and then recovering. Then this big spike here, I mean, they're not that large, but the site almost doubled the amount of referring domains in a relatively short amount of time. So in proportion, it is large, yeah, which has followed all throughout. If you see both charts that just go up together. However, this doesn't mean that it's right. Okay, no, doesn't mean that it's wrong either. Let's look into the beautiful world of nuance. So first off, let's go to referring domains. This is every domain that is linking to the site that Ahrefs can find. Yes, you can also go to Search Console, but neither of them are the optimal tool. The optimal tool is link research tools. So as you can see, they have fantastic links from the Telegraph, the Sun, Digital Journal, right? Startups.co.uk for the industry, for the geo. Those links are as good as they get, right? The Sun from Ireland is beautiful as well, right? Now, this is the good links. What about the not so good links, right? They always appear. Does Google ignore spam? Yes. Does Google ignore all spam? No. Does Google like the spam even though they ignore it? Also, no. Okay. So all these completely blah 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 gibberish.blogspot.com, you can mostly ignore them. It's just general practice to also be best disavowed anyway. But this is not the stuff that worries me. The stuff that worries me whenever I see a backlink profile that has had big jumps. The stuff that worries me whenever I see a profile that has had big jumps is the stuff that has high DR but no traffic. Topics.online, universalpressrelease.com, not good, right? PR rooms, homes online. My business blog, also not great. So all these sites that have high DR that link to literally everybody and their dog, right? 2 million sites that they link to with do follow links, mind you, right? Describe SEO. If they made $1 from every link that they sold at Udexter, they'll be multimillionaires. And so we don't want sites like this linking to us, right? There's some of them that aren't also so straightforward, like Polish news. Okay, I don't know. You need to start looking into the drill down and you need to look at the actual websites. Okay, Polish news. There could be a site about Polish news for the UK. I don't know. I'm going to use this as an example to show you what to look for in a good site. Okay, this site immediately looks good. Okay, but let's see. Latest popular business Poland, right in the center. Yes, by Polish news. Okay, not sure. Seem to have a decent site, but then you see it's already missing a whole bunch of things, right? I'd love to see. Okay, moto. Let's see. Okay, that is motorcycle. So I'd love to see an about. I'd love to see who's behind this. Any legitimate news site will have some sort of editorial policy shown very clearly. Who are the authors? Data, data. My opinion, this site is missing way too many things. The traffic is low. I don't like this, right? I can't clearly see who's behind this. Polish news doesn't really mean anything, right? They have articles in topics that are very, very varied, which could be okay, but yeah. not a fan of this link. And so this could also explain why it has such low traffic, although the amount of referring domains could be okay for a news website. Ultimately, how do you know for sure? It's going to be running something like this. Now, unfortunately, this is a very expensive tool and out of the reach for non-professional SEOs, right? It's about $1,000 per month just to look at your backlink profile and just to keep it clean. You can use it for link building and whatnot. There's so many things that you can use with this tool. It has a tremendously high learning curve, but this is the TLDR. You run one of these and it tells you that you have this much domain risk. And specifically, it's going to tell you that most of your links are okay. And then half of the profile is crazy. So you basically come here, very high risk with unavailable status, links with very high toxicity score. It's also telling you that some pages take more than 5 seconds to load without rendering. Okay. Money keywords on weak domains. This is more nuanced than meets the eye. I'm going to have a whole section about that here later on in a link audit that we did with this client as well. Much more comprehensive. Once you get that score within the a lot more manageable realm of the green, okay, which is what I recommend you to be, then, right, I want to recalculate, yeah, yeah, it's going to tell you that, it's going to consume a whole bunch of credits and activate, no activate, right? See, this moves pretty quickly. And so this is the proper way to do it. I could devote a whole 50-hour video to this tool, and I will be recording videos on this very subject. I will redo my LTR certification, and I will show you how that all works as well in a different series. And so, what's the quick and dirty and really good way to clean a backlink profile? You download the whole list, you throw it here into the batch analysis. And what I mean the list is the list of actual domains. Throw them into the batch analysis, and then it's going to give you something like this. Okay. This is the domain rating, the amount of domains that link to it, any gov or edu domains, how many domains they link to, how many backlinks in total they get, how many keywords they rank for, how much traffic. Aside with no keywords, no traffic, that gets no links, links to everybody and their dog, doesn't have any highly legitimate links, and it's a DR0, it's probably a site that you don't want, right? So if we look at the math here, this has 5 toxic flags. Do we disavow this? Yes. This will already give you the 80-20 of link cleanup, which for the vast majority of people that aren't even doing this is plenty, right? So what you do is you go through this list. This is a bit more nuanced because there's obviously certain domains that we can tell by experience or because we have a very comprehensive blacklist within Get Me Links. All we do is build links, and we build thousands of links per month. So in order to build thousands of links per month, imagine we reach out to almost 100,000 sites, unique sites every month. And so we also get pitched by people selling garbage links about 70,000 times per day per inbox. I am being hyperbolic. We consolidate all those garbage links that we've been pitched by my guest post for $1, that kind of stuff. Put all of that into a blacklist every single time we scan a site that doesn't meet our quality criteria. We put that in a blacklist. And so that gives us a slight advantage in order to make this professionally, but you don't need any of that stuff. You don't need this $1,000 tool. You need a simple plan in Ahrefs, dump all the referring domains in a batch analysis. It's limited to 200 per analysis, but just start making exports and consolidate them in a spreadsheet. Okay, this is a very simple task that you can always get outsourced for cheaply. And start crafting your list of all the stuff that you want to remove. Once you've done the stuff that's very obvious, okay, if you are going down and you don't recover and you've done absolutely everything else that you've learned in this video, which probably you haven't, then maybe you want to do a more professional pass. But for now, all you're looking for is how many existing domains that are pointing to my site can get me in trouble, how obvious are them, and then just disavow all of that. After you do that, then the question is, what links do I build now? Okay, let's look into that. For that, I'm not going to recommend you any free tools, any cool link building techniques. There's 1,000 videos online, and I will be doing my own videos based on my first-hand experience building about 12,000 backlinks per year. You can always go to Get Me Links, give us $100, and we will do this for you. This is how it looks. Okay. We're going to look at each and every one of the links coming to the top competitors. We're going to look at the links that you have, and this is the meaty part. Let's say that you want to rank for this keyword, and we look at all the points that you have, right? What's your position? The breakdown per DR, and this is scored. So basically what you're looking for is, provided that the links are legit, right? So first you run them through a scan like this, right? And you discard all the illegitimate garbage links that Google is going to be ignoring. Then within the signal, the important ones, you split them by buckets of DR, and then you look at whether the link is relevant, meaning the page is relevant and the website is relevant to your site. If both page and site are relevant to your site and to the page within the website, your site, that they link to, you have a perfect match of all 4 of them, boom, you get 2 points. Any mismatch, you get 1 point. Full mismatch, you get 0 or half a point if the website is actually legit. Okay, that's going to give you a score. And then this is the part that I mentioned earlier. You have to categorize all your anchor text profile, right? So it's either going to be the brand name, exact match, partial match, just the URL is going to be empty, like image, or it's going to be some random stuff, some miscellaneous stuff. And basically you want your bars to look like the bars of the average winning site. And for instance, for this particular site, we have just identified that the client is way too heavy on exact match. They have way too many links pointing to the page with the exact match of online divorce, which when we combine those insights with the insights that link research tools tell us that they have the money keyword on weak domains, we can very quickly remove those weak domains, balance out the anchor text profile. That gives us a double win, lower toxicity, better anchor text profile. Sometimes that's all it takes. Links are that powerful. Okay, so my recommendation for anyone watching this, including the website owner, is finishing this detoxification of the backlink profile. Start building really high quality, high DR links as per the gap, right? So if we find out that there is a gap and there's links that need to be built, let's go and build those links. And as we do so, use your highest DR links for your partial matches. In this particular case, no more exact match. And then the lower DR links to balance everything else out. So you can always do branded links. In this particular case, it's going to be hard, okay? So what I would do for brand is I would use the name of the author, which is also really good for EEAT. So what I wouldn't do is tell myself that because the keyword is the name of the domain, I can just build the keyword and that will work. It really doesn't, right? You have to be very careful. So the recommendation here will be to go very heavy on partial match, build a handful of URL links, which you can always do with no follow stuff, right, to pillow out. A handful of miscellaneous links will be required. So source, via, website, click here, learn more, data, right? Source is my favorite because it also implies a degree of authority, right? Click here, read more, very common ones. Don't be an SEO, keep it mixed, don't repeat yourself in excess. Okay, and then all the partial match with the high DR. And then for the divorce online, if we look at this one and we figure out, okay, if this was the page, right, the how to apply for a divorce online, which I would like to make this page the one because I know this meets the intent better. If I was to do it that way, I would also have to build almost 50 backlinks for this page when this page needs way fewer. So in this particular case, and this is why you have to do this holistic approach, when you look at the on page, you look at the cannibalization, you look at the backlink profile, you need to understand everything before you get your hands dirty and you start tweaking things on the page. You don't really know what's producing the results, right? With all this data that we have here, if all we aim to was to solve the problem that the client has between these 2 pages, ranking for this, stuck in position 5, this is not going to get unstuck unless all of the other stuff is also sorted. solved, by the way. So what I would do in this particular case is I would de-optimize this page, like I said, and I wouldn't build any more links with this divorce online. I would do all the link building required to the homepage. I would balance out this anchor text profile plus everything else that I covered in the technical and so forth, right? Now let's look at a different keyword, like quick divorce. This keyword is doable, okay? The page doesn't really have any links built to it, so it's a white canvas. White canvases are the easiest to rank, okay? Position number 7, fantastic. It's there in virtue of living in a website that, even though has a whole bunch of places where we've identified the site can be improved, it is a good website. It has the authority. It has a really good brand reputation, and this is very important, okay? This is the whole reason behind getting really good reviews. Is your brand reputation can carry your SEO single-handedly over time. Google is moving to an algo-less reality eventually, okay, in which user metrics will be everything. But we're talking maybe 5 years, 10 years down the line. This is my own take, my guess. Watching what happened over the last 7 years that I've been involved in the industry, Google is going in this direction. I don't think they're going to go back. They're going to go in that direction moving forward. And so what does this mean? Is the site this number 7 without doing any dedicated link building to the page? For them, it's going to be very easy. Just go and build these 20 links. Now, why is this a strike through? Yes, if we look at quick divorce here, for instance, which you could ignore because they're a homepage, and homepages aren't a comparable competitor to an inner page. Realistically, divorce online is the right one, and they have 3 links here, 1 link here, and 0 links here. And I'm going to zoom this in because it's a bit too small. Thank you very much. And so, realistically, the client could build 3 links and 1 link and be good to go. Okay. Now, even better would be to build 2 or 3 links here and don't build any of this other stuff. Reason being is a lower amount of referring domains, takes just about the same effort, costs just about the same amount of money, right? And it brings more trust. Typically, higher DR sites, if they're good websites, as they should be, will have more traffic. More traffic means more referral traffic, means happier rank brain, data. That's what holistic means, okay? So, online divorce reviews. Again, with the homepage, doable. Yes. Would I bother? Not really. I would create a reviews page. Okay. I would dump every single review they have, organized by topic. So reviews about how easy it is to use the service, reviews about how fast it was, reviews about what areas they go help with. That's how I would structure your niche plus reviews. If you're a service provider and not an affiliate, that's the page you want to build. Okay, skip. How to divorce. This is the right page for this keyword, how to divorce. In principle, they don't need to do anything else. They have a very comprehensive backlink profile here, and we've encountered some cannibalization errors as well. So we will have to look into what pages causing the cannibalization errors and apply the same principles. Also, way too heavy on partial match. Okay, so I wouldn't do more partial match here. Divorce papers, very similar. Okay, no links, but the competition also has no links. Whenever I see a page like this, and this you can apply to yourself, you do an analysis of the competition. It's all inner pages. You also have an inner page. Nobody has any backlinks. Don't build a cheapy DR30 crappy guest post with 1,000 visitors sharp but declining traffic. Build one really good DR60 with growing traffic, 50,000 visitors per month plus exact match, 1 link only. That's all it takes 99% of the time, provided that technical on-page data that I covered. So this I won't show anymore because I've shown enough examples of different situations with homepage ranking against inner page versus inner page, anchor text profile misdistribution, and so forth. This I will share directly with the website owner, but you can get an idea of what to expect. You can also calculate, what's the search volume, how many clicks per search, what's the cost per click. It's going to tell you, okay, you could spend about $400 a month on ads to get any traffic, or you can build one DR60 backlink. Matter of fact, you can build two and not build these two, right? So you trade two of these for one of these. And that's probably all it takes to jump from position 6 based on pure authority, quality of content, and brand name that they have. Boom. All they would need is to build a couple backlinks, and that will do. And you build one branded anchor, one partial anchor. You have everything here. And so, where do we take it from here? What would be the next steps once you've done all this kind of analysis? And, if you're watching this, you will want also the summarized version, the 80/20. There isn't. There is no summarizing. There is no 80/20s of the 80/20. This is the 80/20. This is an hour and 34 minutes worth of knowledge that if you put it on a list, you have easy 12 months of SEO work in front of you. Okay. This is something that I see way too often. And if you watch an hour and 34 minutes, I'm pretty sure you will allow me for a 1-minute rant. Shortcuts in SEO have short-lived timeframes. You want to do a comprehensive audit, then a comprehensive strategy that encompasses everything and always puts the user first. Make sure that you serve the website in a way that robots like it, in a way that it's conducive for growth, it's conducive for optimization for the robots. But the website needs to be presented in a way that is conducive for the user to win. The user has to win. If the user wins, you win too. Okay, that was less than 1 minute, I think. Thank you very much for watching, and happy rankings.